Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Broaden the scope of exposure for your business by going beyond the interview. Learn more at www.jmmbmediallc.com or email us at jmmbradio@gmail.com. One cannot think well, love well, or sleep well if one has not dined well. Virginia Woolf. Mark H. Brezinski is the father of Dallas's fast casual food scene. He is a 45-year restaurant industry veteran who has created or co-created multiple nationally recognized and rewarded restaurant concepts. He's been named one of Nation's Restaurant News' most influential restaurant CEOs. Eating is something everyone does, but Mark has a profound understanding of food and the culture around eating. He reveals this and more in his new book about his award-winning career called Pork Fight: Risk, and Conflicts Behind the Restaurant Curtain. Welcome, Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Ruth and Ida. Thank you for having me on today.
Yes, welcome, welcome. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to collaborate with us. I'm intrigued by the title.
Yeah,
So,
you know, writing a book, that book is about 80,000 words, give or take. And the title, you know, is like 2 words, but the title has to say a lot about the book to make you have an interest. So you just can't come up with any old title. You know, it took a group of 3 or 4 of us together, just kind of brainstorming, throwing ideas back and forth to come up with the title long after the book was written. So it was a fun project just to come up with that title.
well, it is definitely catchy for sure. So people get the book. What can they look forward to in reading this book?
Well, as I tell people, there's enough autobiographies out there. There's enough how-to, you know, books out there. There's everybody that's been a success wants to tell you how you too can be a success, and the formulations. You know, we read books all the time, like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or 10 Business Principles to Success, or whatever. Listen, I set out not to do that type of book. My book was more of a journey book. I wanted to take people on a journey through the life of an entrepreneur that has both ups and downs. And the book follows that arc of my career to great success, and then also to great disparity. I mean, just great desperation. As an entrepreneur, one of the things you learn early on is that you will fail. And the true test of whether or not you are an entrepreneur or you just decided you wanted to try to be in business is your ability to bounce back from failure. My book is I call it a hopeful book, a book for people to understand that you will fail, that you can fail, and that you can recover. And my book will take you from China to Italy to Hawaii to Great Britain on travels that I've done to help other people create new restaurant concepts for both myself and the largest company in the world is Yum Brands for the restaurant business, over 40,000 restaurants worldwide. And then I've helped mom and pop, including myself, open one restaurant on a corner somewhere in whatever city, fill in the blank. So this is a book that tells you a little bit more about me, but it's not just about me. It's about the people I've worked with, the type of work that I've done, what happens when you succeed, and also what happens when you fail. And I really want people to read it, not as a guide to what to do for themselves, but as a kind of a mentality and approach to being a stronger entrepreneur and being ready for whatever comes with it.
Yes. Yeah,
So is that a good synopsis or not?
That's an excellent
that's
synopsis.
an excellent synopsis.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
What I found interesting is that in this, you are talking about the highs and lows.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're known in Dallas. You started in Dallas, I'm assuming, and you became famous there for the way that you put together restaurants, the concepts that you came up with. Can you talk a little bit about coming up with the concepts and perhaps the one that took you downhill?
Yeah, yeah, that's excellent questions. It's hard to say. If you ask an artist or a writer or a musician or whatever, where that seed starts to start something, it's really hard to go back and depict that moment where you had a certain inspiration. In the restaurant business, I think that comes from just being a good consumer, first and foremost, and being willing to try new things, right? I mean, I was fortunate and blessed to be able to travel a lot. So I never go to a hotel room and turn on the TV and, just try to find something to watch for a couple hours. I put my stuff away and I hit the streets. And I see what's going on in the neighborhoods. What do people seem to like? What do people recommend? I go down on the front desk and I say, hey, what's nearby that's kind of new and different and people are really loving? I will put myself in a position to experience as much as I possibly can. And I've been blessed in my lifetime to have companies that would travel me around the world or around the United States. And I've been to 43 of our 50 states. I've opened restaurants in 25 of our 50 states. I've had opportunities to work with people in multiple areas of the country: Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Washington, Florida, all over Florida, Chicago. So part of my inspiration, to your question, Ruth, is just being a good observer. Innovating doesn't always start with an idea that nobody else has done. Sometimes innovation is seeing something that somebody's doing and seeing it perhaps in a different way than they are doing it. And that's where I think my niche is that I have a good sense of recognition of what I think people like, excuse me, or what I think trends are leaning towards. And being in the business for 45 years, I'd say one of my skill sets has just been learning how to pay attention. I know that sounds simple, right? Like, oh, we all pay attention. Well, you can see something and understand it, or you can look at something, right?
Right.
And there's a difference between seeing and absorbing and just seeing it. And at every level I go to, I try to understand a little bit more than just what I'm seeing. I'm trying to understand why it's working, not just what's working, but why is it working? Why does it seem to resonate with the people that are in the dining room or in the wherever they are that they're eating? What is it about this particular thing that people are enjoying? So I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to kind of arrange things in a way that people like, because mostly I've been pretty good at paying attention to what people have already told me they like and just creating it in a way that maybe they have another opportunity to like it a different way. That sounds a little vague and I apologize, but I'm happy to expound on that if you like.
Well, yeah, I wish you would, because one of the things that I've noticed in looking at a little bit of your story is that in your travels, you've picked up different concepts, and some of them you tried to bring to the United States. And you mentioned also about the culture surrounding eating. So if you could try to pull that together for us so we could really understand what that means, please.
Sure. Glad to. I went to school at Cornell University at the School of Hotel and Restaurant Management in Ithaca, New York. And way back when, and it goes back a while, I won't tell you how long, but it goes back a while. There are 5 reasons that people go out to eat. It has withstood the test of time. You go out for quality food, you go out for an experience, You go out for what you used to call service, but we now call hospitality. You go out for value. You're driven by, you know, what you feel like spending, or you go out for the convenience of it, something that's nearby.
Mhm.
And every time, if you think about it, every time you make a decision to grab something to eat in your neighborhood or with friends or whatever, you are processing those 5 reasons in different levels of categories. Sometimes you're going out to eat by yourself and you just want something quick. So you're going to the place that's closest to your house or closest to your place of work, and you're just what we call grabbing a bite to eat. Sometimes it's a special occasion. So that the experience and the quality rises up on that ladder when you're making that decision. Sometimes you only have $10 in your pocket. You go, geez, I only got, I got to eat though, you know, so what am I doing? I'm going to grab a hot dog on the street. You know what I mean? It really, your mind is always, I always say your mind is like a carousel that's spinning at light speed all the time. And then all of a sudden, when you stop and think about food, all those things process and you go, okay, here's where I'm going to go. You and I both know people who have a hard time making decisions. You know, they're like, I don't know, what do you want? I don't know, what do you want? I don't know, what do you want? You know, and I would say that the person who ends up making that decision, who says, okay, let's go do this, has the best opportunity to process all those things and choose a place for a group that meets all the conditions that everybody's kind of said they want. Oh, I want Italian. Well, I don't have much time. You know, I don't want to sit down and be served. Before you know it, all that comes together and a choice comes out of it. For some reason, I'm able to anticipate those maybe a little bit differently or process them a little differently than maybe some other people. So the concepts I create are always trying to accommodate as many of those opportunities as possible. I don't do fine dining, but that you don't have to spend a lot of money to eat well, right? I think you should be able to eat really well for $10. So my career, especially in the last 20 years, has been focused on how to allow people to eat better for less money in an atmosphere, in an environment that they will be comfortable in. Not just cut away, strip away all the other stuff and just give you good food in a warehouse, but do it in a place that has good music, nice lighting, the people are friendly, they can serve you quickly, but you're going to get up from it and go, you know, damn, that was a good experience and I didn't spend a lot of money. That's my niche. That's where I've tried to focus my efforts. I will do work with people who want to create a fine dining restaurant. I certainly understand that, but my niche is more people. I always say, you eat every day, you only dine once in a while. So I'm firmly in the eat category. I don't know what you guys had for lunch or where you're going to dinner, but I promise you, you're going to look at it a little differently now. You're going to go, okay, he's right. I got to just grab something between now and home, and I got to feed 3 other people. So what works? Boom. You go through a drive-through, Kentucky Fried Chicken, get a bucket of chicken. You go to a pizza parlor and get 2 pizzas. Whatever it is that fits that where that carousel stopped when it was spinning, you go, okay, that's what I need to do.
Okay.
Yes, it's so funny you talk about that because we like to go to the all you can eat because of the variety, you know, of food that they have and the ability to get seconds. And because the price is good for what you're getting.
So you've mentioned 3 things that your mind has come up with, right? You want good food, you want value, and you want choice. You want selection.
Yes.
And your mind immediately, the mind is an incredible thing, right? It immediately knows what addresses all 3 of those based on your experience. And it's telling you, okay, if that's what you want, go here. And all I try to do in my business is create places that will attract as many people that are thinking all those things together as possible.
Okay, so if you had 2 of your enterprises that you worked on, could you give us an example of 2 of them and how they fulfilled those criteria?
Absolutely. One that probably gave me the most success is called Payway Asian Diner. We created P.F. Chang's China Bistro, which is a powerhouse of a full service restaurant concept. Had decided at some point that they needed to do a concept like that, but more affordable, quicker, faster, more everyday. P.F. Chang's was kind of a dining out occasion where you took a group and you celebrated, you waited 45 minutes to an hour for a table, you kept your table for an hour, hour and a half, and it was a night experience. Well, Payway was created to be quicker, stronger, a little bit more convenient, in and out, more to-go food, etc. So we created that based on the success of P.F. Chang's, and it grew like a weed. From the year it opened in 2000 to the year I left in 2007, we built over 250 units. So it obviously worked. I was part of the initial group that helped create the concept, so I had some nice rewards attached to that. And then I will tell you about the flip side of the coin right after that. I took my money and I took a year off. I traveled around the world and I came up with my next concept that I wanted to open, and it was my version of what I call modern Indian food. It was called Bengal Coast, and I opened it in Dallas. And I strayed away from what I felt like I did best. I went back to full service fine dining, thinking that I could create the next P.F. Chang's, but of Indian food, right? I felt like it was time that Indian food was coming into a kind of a peak, and people were starting to really be curious about Indian food. So I decided I was going to put the money I made, put my money where my mouth was. And I opened an Indian restaurant called Bengal Coast here in Dallas. Unfortunately, it opened during the biggest financial crisis we've had in our lifetime, which was 2008 to 2010. I think everybody listening and you guys understand what that meant to our business and to us personally as individuals. The restaurant failed. And in a period of about 2 years, I lost every dollar I had that I had made the previous 7 to 10 years. And it took me from a place where I could afford to fly first class around the world and stay in nice suites at the top of hotels to somebody who pretty much was housebound and had to watch every single dime that I was spending. It was a stark realization of the peaks and valleys of entrepreneurialism. And the book details that very, very, very rawly, in a very raw way. And the chapter after Bengal Coast is appropriately named The Aftermath. Mm-hmm. And I detail in a complete chapter what it's like to live through bankruptcy, to feel like your career is over, to feel like you've let everybody down, to feeling like you're all alone. And then after that, how to recover. I mean, the book then details how I went about trying to resurrect myself, to forgive myself, and allow myself an opportunity to be creative again. And that's, you can tell by my voice, it's a very emotional time.
Yes.
Oh my.
I can imagine.
That sounds wonderful, though. This sounds like an awesome book because
yes, it does.
Humility to see where you went wrong, live through that experience. And then I heard you say, resurrect myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Is what so many entrepreneurs need to know. And it's one of the things that keeps people from stepping out and really fulfilling their dream. They're so worried about failing. And they think that if they fail, they'll never get up again. But I can see where your book would be an inspiration.
Absolutely.
Would be a tremendous inspiration. Because many people are sitting in that. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who did not come through the pandemic well. They lost everything also. And they have no idea of how to start again. And I heard you also say something about forgiveness. You had to forgive yourself. Can you talk a little bit about that?
And
Yeah.
before we go there, how do people get the book? Because I don't want to.
No, thank you for asking that, Ida. Yeah, it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, all the usual suspects. You just Google Fork Fight book, Fork Fight just the way it sounds, and it'll come up. It sells in hardcover right now. We were able to get a hardcover. It's got a 16-page photo insert in the middle of various stages of my career and growing up in the business. It's available, and I was told last week that it was the #1 new release in the restaurant and food category on Amazon the week it came out. So I think we've got a little momentum, but I will never again in my lifetime take anything for granted. I promise you that I will work as hard at trying to promote this and trying to share the story with as many people as possible. I think it's an important story to share.
Yes. So the forgiveness. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, we all grow up a little different. This gets really a little bit too deep. I apologize, but we all grow up differently. I was the youngest of 5 kids in my family, so I was always the brunt of practical jokes and everything. I found it harder as I got older to forgive myself because I was always seeming to be in a defensive mood, right? At some point along the way, though, I got enough courage because I probably had that in my fabric from my parents to be courageous. I got enough courage to do things that were a little bit more risk taking. And for whatever reason, I wasn't failing a lot. So I started feeling pretty full of myself. Hey, I was bulletproof. I can't fail. So when failure did come, boy, I didn't know how to deal with it. I'll be very honest. I didn't know what to do. I had no point of reference. And it took some very, very dear friends who were okay with me not being at the top of the ladder anymore, who would counsel me, who would check in on me, who wouldn't let me detach. Who said, "Come on, Mark, look at your career arc. You've done well. You failed one time. Don't let that one failure define you." Mm-hmm. And if it hadn't been for 2 or 3 friends and family members that kept at it and would not let me, shelter myself away from everybody in that darkness, that really bad place of not forgiving yourself, they hadn't held me by the hand and pulled me out, I might not have been able to write the book and recapture that. So the forgiveness was both internal, but it had to be, Ruth, it had to be encouraged by people who cared about me. I honestly don't think I could have done it alone. It would be arrogant of me to say that I got myself out of it, because I didn't. I needed help. Mm-hmm. And I found help in people that really cared for me and really believed in me. I call them the believers. I call them the believers in the book. We all need believers in our lives. Yes. Sometimes it's your parents. Sometimes it's your siblings. Sometimes it's your spouse. Sometimes it's people you grew up with. You just got to always know where your believers are and know how to reach out to them.
Yes. And I think that the whole point that you put this part in the book is a huge thing, because people process failure differently. And most time, failure is not a pleasant thing at all. I don't care how you look at it and which way you slice it, it hurts. And to be able to move past that is difficult. And you need support with it. Because when it's just me, myself, and our mind just can go all over the place. I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that. And we just continuously beat ourselves up.
Oh, I will tell you to that point, Ida, if I might, what I found myself doing, if you lay in bed when you wake up and your mind won't stop, right? It'll like, okay, what I found, it's like, okay, stop, get your feet on the ground and start walking. Don't just sit here prone and allow yourself to punish yourself and try to relive what I could have done. just get up, put your feet on the ground and start moving. And all of a sudden you find that action leads to other action, right? Okay, go to your computer, write an email to a friend who you think might need help. Go take your dogs for a walk. Do something constructive. Stop letting yourself be so stagnant because you're so intent on punishing yourself. Give yourself a chance to move about and start thinking a little bit more clearly. A little thing like getting out of bed and putting your feet on the ground, take a shower, feel refreshed, do something that doesn't let your mind take over your entire being and your entire capacity. I know that, sorry if it gets a little philosophical, but
no,
it makes absolute good sense, because the more you, let's say, wallow in it, the worse it becomes, and you're not doing anything to move away from that feeling.
So that's a little bit my advice about how to recover and how to forgive yourself is get the right people around you, listen to them, and then just keep moving. Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8, right? I mean, just understand that that's part of the deal. It's part of the deal for all of us, not just entrepreneurs, but for all of us.
Yes.
That's life.
Right?
That's life. If you have never had a fall, you must also be walking on mortar.
or somebody's been carrying you the whole time.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because I'm telling you, part of life is failure. But as someone has been saying lately in the last few years, learn how to fail forward.
That's a great expression. I like that.
Fail
forward. Yeah.
And just don't lie down and say, oh, woe is me, I'm never going to get up again. Because we keep saying that to ourselves, it'll become true. We will never get up again. So we have to say, like you said, get out of bed. If you don't do anything else, just get out of bed.
Get out of bed and move and cause action in your life. And although my book is about the restaurant business, and I think people like it because they'll recognize names, they'll recognize restaurants, and they'll wonder how that happened or why didn't that work. But it's really the thread that's tying every chapter together is this sense of continuance, this sense of moving forward, this sense of not looking at things as roadblocks, looking at them as obstacles.
Yeah.
And I think even today, I'm going to be 70 on my next birthday, and I'm still doing it. I'm still saying, okay, I've got a new idea. Get ready for it, because the same sense of dread, the same sense of anxiety happens now that happened 30, 40 years ago when I first started out. So you just learn what that feeling is.
Yes.
You have a project going right now that is in fruition or is?
Yeah, my current project is a burger restaurant called Bizzy, Bizzy.
Okay.
And it's my attempt to bring better fast food to people. Again, remember I said I don't think you should have to spend a lot of money to eat well. Well, my new burger place is my attempt to give people better fast food. I don't see why fast food has to be frozen, overly marketed, kind of smoke and mirrors kind of food. I think it could be really good basic food that you can make, that I can make money on, that you can afford, that you can have as often as you want. So that's my goal now, better fast food.
All righty now. So again, how do people get the book?
Go to my website if you want, forkfightbook.com. Go to my personal website, brezinski.com, or go to Amazon and just type in the name Fork Fight. And a whole bunch of things will pop up that you'll be able to, look at it.
And the other, 1 second, Ruth. The other thing I wanted to know, I mean, you supported a lot of restaurants. How do restaurant owners who might need your guidance get in touch with you for that part of your profession?
Well, thank you for asking, because I still do that. I still want to teach and I still want to help people. The best way is my website, jmmbrezinski.com, it'll lay out my career, but it also has a reach out contact to me. mmbrezinski.com. It tells what kind of services I offer to different people that are starting out. And I've worked with mom and pops for as much as they can afford. And I've worked for the largest restaurant company in the world, and knowing that they had plenty of money to spend on whatever it is we needed to do. So I work everything in between. I'm a small business person myself. So I have the heart of a small businessman, but I've worked in some of the largest companies in the world. So I also know that, how that works. So that's the way I would suggest.
Okay, and make sure we get that information so that we can add it to this, so that people can actually reach out to you, because you're amazing, Mark. You know, I like the idea that you not only talk about the success, but you talk about the failures too. And that's really an important piece of it, because they work together.
Yeah. There were times when it was at my most desperate time that I would wake up, go out to my car and see how much gasoline I had in my car to determine how far I could travel that day without having to put any more gas in my car. And then, you know, I was making, at my height, I don't mind sharing this, at my height, I was making $60,000, $70,000 a month in my income. I was affording anything I wanted to do. You know, I could go to a steak restaurant and take as many people as I wanted to dinner, and then buy that table over there their dinner by surprise. You know, I went from doing that to eating eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that's what I could afford to eat at that time. And so I do know the top side, and I know intimately the bottom side as well. And I want to share that. That's what I want to share, is it's all part of the arc.
Yes.
All righty.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No problem.
I just no problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to share again something you said earlier. And because you are a restaurateur and you work with concepts, and you know, sometimes we all want someplace, like you said, that's affordable.
Right.
But sometimes we want to really dine well.
Yeah.
You know, something that works in both areas. So I just want to requote your quote. Eat every day, but you dine only every once in a while.
That's
Mark
correct.
Brezinski. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This was so amazing. We're definitely going to have you come back. We definitely want to follow your new project. Yes. So we will definitely stay in touch. Please do. Thank you for your transparency, because a lot of people don't talk about the things in detail of what went wrong. But your transparency in this book, I know, is going to be somebody's story, somebody else's story that has gone through it, or about to go through it, or coming out of it.
All the above. And I just want to help lift people, give them hope. I may not be able to give them money, but I can give them hope. And my story should be that hopeful story for people. And that's my goal.
Thank you so much for that. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you. Keep in